Today on Table for Two, Gillian's guest is the Rev Arran Thorpe, who joined Epiphany just 4 days ago. So over to you, Gillian.
Good morning, or I guess good afternoon, Reverend Arran. It's so nice to have a chance to chat with you and for you to have a chance to share some information about you that you're comfortable with the parish, and I guess to some degree with the public. It's been an interesting year, especially you've done a big move in the middle of that from one parish to another, which makes it, I'm sure, more challenging. I was just wondering if you could give us some information about your journey to Epiphany, like starting, with your background and your experiences that relate to that.
Okay, well, good afternoon, Gillian. Thanks for doing this, Judith. It's great to be with you this afternoon on this this day where the World Health Organization declared a pandemic and a world health crisis. So that kind of weighs on the conversation a little bit. And I'm the new priest at Epiphany, the new pastor, or as the social media video on your Facebook channel is, there's a new sheepdog in town. And I'm not a lone sheepdog. I travel in a pack. Just ask the wardens. So what my journey towards Epiphany, that's an interesting one. It can, like, how far back do you want to go, Gillian?
Well, mostly, I guess mostly your education. Where are you from? What area of Canada, or if you are from Canada, what area of Canada you've come, and your sort of cross-country journey and back again?
Yeah, so I guess just basically you want to know who I am. So I'm happy to tell you who I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm Arran Thorpe. I grew up in Maple Ridge, BC. I went to Westview Senior Secondary School, go Wildcats. And I played basketball in high school, volleyball, track and field, played soccer all my life. And it wasn't until I was 19 years old, so I was out of high school. I was a salaried manager at McDonald's, the Golden Arches. Hey, I can flip a burger, let me tell you. And when I was 19 at McDonald's, salaried manager with all the benefits that the McDonald's offered me, a friend said, why don't you come to church with me? And this person happened to be somebody that I liked, that ended up being a girlfriend at the time. Her name's Leanne. And sort of being kind of maybe naive, maybe foolish, if she thinks it's good for me, then I'm just going to try it and I'll go to church with you. So I didn't go to church on Sunday with her or anything like that. I waited for the big one. So it was Christmas Eve. And so I was a Christmas Eve Christian, and that was enough. That experience, that community, the how mystical, how wondrous, how nourishing and how fulfilling that Christmas narrative was presented to me. I was like, whoa. For somebody who has everything, like my parents, they gave me everything as a kid. I have so much privilege in my life. That was the missing piece, and I found it on Christmas Eve. Like, it was a gift, and that was 1998. And then I was invited to go on the Alpha course. I don't know if you're familiar with Alpha.
Yes, I am. I've done one.
Yeah, so I did the first 3 weeks of the Alpha course. Got to, why did Jesus die moment. And I was like, whoa. And this is so profound, so amazing. And then I started asking questions of my parents, like, like, why didn't we go to church when I was a kid? Am I baptized? I'm not baptized. Like, can I be baptized? And then basically from there, St. John the Divine, Maple Ridge. You can look it up on the internet. It's a beautiful, tiny little Anglican church in Maple Ridge. That's where I walked through the waters of baptism, and it was at that moment that I knew I wanted to be an ordained Anglican priest. But I didn't have any life experience, so I needed to get some life experience, and to work through some of that discernment of call. So I left that parish with blessings and encouragement, and I was signed up for university. And so I moved east with my father and my stepmom and my younger brother and my younger sister, and I went to St. Mary's University, and I knew that I wanted to be a priest while I was in university. So I was like, well, what courses will help me, what will give me life experience? So I took political science, because when 2 or 3 are gathered in the name of Jesus, politics are there also, as is Christ, but politics is there also. So I took political science. I had economics and international development studies. I went and lived in Africa for 6 months, doing an international development studies project. I wrote a paper on male prostitution and sex workers in Africa, and mostly because it was where I was in the Gambia. I was outside of Banjul, and I wanted to go to the beach. I wanted to be at the beach. And so I just noticed this economic activity that was happening on the beach between males and females. That's what I ended up doing a research study on. And it was fascinating, and all that kind of stuff. And then I came back to Canada in August, and this was before September the 11th. And then that happened, and that was just an incredible experience. And then I went and finished my degree in 2002, and then I was off to the Atlantic School of Theology. So in there, like, I belonged to a church family in Cole Harbour, the home of Sidney Crosby.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Even though I don't cheer for the Penguins, I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, just to be clear. I grew up in Vancouver. Even though we've never won a Stanley Cup, I live in hope. Hope springs eternal. So I went to the Church of St. Andrew in Cole Harbour, and that was a really formational time. I was still young, still discerning my call. That's the church that wrote letters of support, or the letter of commendation, that we commend Arran to be a postulant in the Church of God in the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And I had an amazing pastor and priest who has died, the Reverend Canon David Reed, who when he retired, he gave me all of his vestments, and so I felt so humbled and so appreciated that he would think of me to do that. And I felt like, David had touched so many clergy with his leadership as a faithful priest in that diocese, and lay people as well. I didn't feel that he gave me all of his vestments. So I bundled so I bundled some of those vestments up, and I gave them to other colleagues who I felt like they also should benefit from. Even though it was given to me, I wanted to give it away to others, because of this. We all had this experience of David Reed So he was a mentor priest, fabulous sense of humor. You know, he was so kind to me and so helpful for me in my time at the Atlantic School of Theology. The funniest moment I remember with David, it was, so I just finished my first semester at the Atlantic School of Theology, and I was so excited. He invited me to be the preacher, and it was the season of Epiphany, and or not a season of Epiphany, the season of Advent, sorry. And and he let me preach in Advent, and it was my first sermon to my own home community, my own home church. And it was the Sunday of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I was so excited. I was, telling everybody all the stuff that I had learned at AST and that one semester that, I felt so supported and so loved by them. And I said, well, enough about me. I'm going to jump into the sermon about the Virgin Mary. Well, everybody were just, they just were so appreciative of the enthusiasm that I had. They just thought it was so refreshing. So they've been a supportive church, and the reason why I'm here. The whole diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, they're just a tremendous, faithful, small church, but so faithful and do great works in the name of Jesus. So after that, I finished at the Atlantic School of Theology, got my degree, and I was sent to different parishes. So I was a curate to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a curate at the parish of Seaforth, which is like 5 churches, and you have to visit around and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were set up for sort of the way you would travel by water to get to them, like before roads, a lot of them were set up. So they were easy to get to by boat than by driving around, because you'd have to drive around the entire, head to go from one to the other. So oftentimes on Sundays, like, if I got on my surfboard, I could paddle across from St. James over to Christchurch, Lower East. Anyhow, that never happened, but it was a great curacy. I had a fantastic colleague, Deborah Burleson. She was a second career clergy person, and just a phenomenal friend, and so faithful and so helpful in my curacy. It was a great experience. And then Bishop Sue Moxley, she sent me off to St. Nicholas in Tantallon, Upper Tantallon, and I was the curate there for a year. And then I was called to serve the people of All Saints in Bedford, and I served there for 3 years. In the meantime, my wife Charmaine graduated from Dalhousie University. She has a double master's degree. She's smarter than me. She's better looking than me. She is just amazing life partner. So she graduated, and she was offered 2 really good paying jobs with our federal government. But the problem was they were in Ottawa. So I had to ask permission to leave the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And here's a funny story. At first, I saw that the Church of the Epiphany was available at that time. And this was before you guys had Reverend Jeff. And I had no idea, I didn't know what was going on up here. But I didn't have permission to leave the diocese. But Epiphany was the first parish that I looked at when I first wanted to leave Nova Scotia, say 9 years ago. So it's a funny sense of humor that God has, that I'm now at Epiphany here and at this time, right? And so that teaches me something about, what is God's time and what's my time. And so, that's kind of gives you a bit of a journey. The in-between part is I just spent 8 years at the parish of Trinity, Old Ottawa South. I spent 8 years there. Such great fond memories. That's where my wife and I had our first child, little Grayson, and we did some great things together. I had the best farewell during a pandemic a priest could ask for. And, I really appreciate Bishop Shane and the search committee, you, Gillian, really discerning what is God calling us to, myself and the church, and that we are able to sort of come to this place now. So thank you.
Well, I feel very strongly that God has his time. And I guess your time with us is now. It wasn't 9 years ago, so for sure. Thank you. That's really great. I really appreciate all that information, for sure. You sharing, being open to sharing that. I'm just going to look down every once in a while because I have to check my notes because of my memory. But
that would be a good interviewer.
I wanted to also check with you now. We're going to go back to that Lincoln remark from previously, but on Lincoln, I guess they rate you what they think are your strengths. And would you say on Lincoln it says pastoral care, religion, and then theology? I'm not completely sure between the difference of religion and theology, but would you say their rating, you would agree with that rating, that you have a great strength in pastoral care?
Perfect.
There we go.
Thanks. For my LinkedIn profile, it leaks. I can agree with pastoral care. I think it's where I'm my best, where I'm most natural. I care about people, and I care about the church, and I care about the world. I care about people that are on the margins of the church.
Right.
And so, I feel like I've been called to be one of those people that care and to offer care to others. I guess I'm gifted at it. I just be myself. I don't see it as I guess it's other people that see it as a gift, and I'm just going to be me. So.
Right. Well, that sounds about right. I think we don't often see our gifts in ourselves. We have to be told, unfortunately. One of the things that's been important with Epiphany is the engagement of youth in the church. I know you're really involved in the YIP program, and I just was wondering how you're involved and what you see as the benefit of that program.
So the youth internship program is a great program of our diocese. I think it's a pipeline for leadership. I think the church will benefit from youth internship program. I believe that vocations to the priesthood are going to come out of the youth internship program. I'm already getting a sense of that working there. So really, I'm on the faith formation team, so I play really a small role. So Jeff Chapman and I, we're the faith formation leaders for this season of the youth internship program, and it is really life-giving. I remember when it first started, I was part of a group of people that helped to pioneer the youth internship program. But really, the youth internship program is a tremendous ministry of so many people. And one person in particular who's tremendously gifted at what they do is Donna Rourke.
Yes.
And Donna Rourke, I consider Donna a friend, a dear friend. Somebody who is faithful, somebody who's loyal, somebody who loves the church, and also loves to have a good time and knows how to laugh. So it just is. It's a great ministry, and I feel really privileged to be able to be part of the youth internship program. I was on at the beginning. I took a little break when my son was born, and now that I've come back. So again, it's like, timing is everything. So
I think it's so important now as we look at the the decreasing numbers and the decreasing interest of youth in the church and in faith. I just love the fact that we are giving them the opportunity to learn about their faith and to meet God in their own space or in their own time, that we're encouraging that.
They really get to be the church the way they naturally would be the church. Yeah. And they're thoughtful, and they actually, they really care. So like the last faith formation session we had, Bishop Shane, they had a time with Bishop Shane, and basically it was a ask me anything with Bishop Shane. And I'm glad that it was Bishop Shane and not me, because the questions that they asked were so profoundly deep. Who is God? What about justice? What about racism? What about LGBTQIA? What about what does God say about this stuff? And not only what does God say about it, but what do you say about it? And I was like, wow, it was a tremendous night. And I hope it was eye-opening for the interns, that they that they were able to have a time to themselves with our bishop, and to work through some of the things about faith and life together. I'm really thankful to be a part of that program. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but it's so rewarding. And Epiphany actually has 2 interns. So Jefferson and Jennifer are 2 current interns, and they're offering a lot of themselves to the program. And that, I feel real privileged to be able to walk beside them. So
thank you. It's those questions alone seem like ones that we would all be asking. They seem very relevant for sure. Reverend Arran, in this last year, we've all seen so many different changes and suffered losses and celebrated joys. How would you say that this last year, how has your style changed, or has it changed? And how have you communicated with your previous congregation? How did you what things did you use to keep them together as a community? I mean, they would have the core, of course, but how did you encourage that?
I got to tell you, it's been a struggle. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was scared, afraid. I was worried, frightened. I questioned my identity. What good is a priest in the middle of a health crisis? I can't even meet with people. And like, that's the job of the priest. Well, at least that's what I thought, right? So my understanding of what does it mean to meet with people has changed because of the pandemic. The value of a phone call, which is something that I easily dismissed as irrelevant and not useful or helpful, is actually how a priest visits with people. It's how I've visited so far with people of Epiphany, visiting people on the phone and sharing pretty significant life events, life happening. And so the year of the pandemic has been really, it's been about change and about struggle, but it's been about success and amazing renewal. I did an alpha online through Zoom.
Huh?
I was like, well, I'll try this. I can run a video so I run a video, I share the screen of the video. It's half an hour of Nikki Gumbel doing some basic teaching on Christianity. And the content's changed a lot since I took it back in 1998, I can assure you. So I did that with a group of people, actually with six women, and women from one end of life's perspective to another young woman who, recently pregnant and had their first child, and fairly young person. So that was an experience where I experienced life, and they prayed together, they read scripture, they, even in my leaving, when I was leaving Trinity, they fired up the old email list that they had as their connection, and they were checking in with each other, and then they were also just offering their thanks to me for doing that program during the pandemic, which was like, whoa. Another source of transformation in life, I got to work with the Reverend Monique Stone, a phenomenal priest in our diocese. She's the priest over at Gillian of Norwich. And we were on a national church panel. So the Council of General Synod was doing a listening panel. And because I'm a young clergy person, I was in the young clergy person panel. And Monique was in there too, as sort of facilitating conversation and taking notes and reporting. She's a member of COGS, so she reports back to the Council of General Synod COGS. So I was just sharing in that time with her, and really a longing to gather online with other people who want to just talk about things. And Monique's like, why can't we just do a book study together? And I'm like, that would be awesome. And then I recommended Brian McLaren's book, The Great Spiritual Migration, which is one of my favorite books.
Right.
And then we put it out to the clergy of our diocese, and some of my colleagues, they all joined in, and I think there was 10 or 11 clergy of our diocese. And then I would say over a third of all the parishes in our diocese. Like there was 108 people.
Wow.
108 people from all those different parishes that signed up on Thursday night to spend an hour and 15 minutes to watch a video of Brian McLaren, and then to discuss the chapters for that week on the Great Spiritual Migration. I had never felt more alive and more useful as a priest. And it was, in some ways, it's not sacramental. It's Christian education, but it was such a lifeline for me in that. And then we did it again. And tonight is our last night. We did a 6-week study with Richard Rohr. Are you familiar with Richard Rohr?
No, I'm not.
So, this book here, The Universal Christ, by Richard Rohr, How a Forgotten Reality Can Change Everything We See, Hope For, and Believe. Great book. I would recommend it to the parish of Epiphany. Like if people wanted to redo that study, I would be all for it. And we have a Zoom account. We can watch videos and have a discussion for an hour on a Thursday night or whatever. I think there's already a group that does a book study, but anyhow,
right. Yeah.
It's such a great experience.
Such an important way to stay connected, I think, to doing that, whether it's a formalized situation or a more casual situation, for being part of a group. I'm part of a group that meets once a week, and we joined together to do an in-home Lenten study last year, and we've just kept meeting just because we needed to meet. So those things are so important with our appreciation for the simplest phone call.
Yeah, I've heard people refer to it as like the digital campfire.
That's a good term. That's a good term.
We gather around the campfire, and we just, we share our life, and we share story, we share in fellowship in a way. you know, it's not my original term, but I kind of like it. The digital campfire.
Right. I'm going to go to some easier questions. I was going to ask you your favorite book, but I think you've given us some suggestions of what your favorite books.
So my favorite book, I haven't told you my favorite book.
Okay.
It's Tattoos on the Heart by Father Gregory Boyle.
I'm writing it down for reading purposes for myself.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can read it, but we're going to read it again and talk about it too. I just think it's such an enriching book. You know, and obviously it's a church book, but you know, it's such a rich book. And I also, yeah, so there's that. There's other books, but we got lots of time for that. We probably should keep this video short.
Right, right. Sorry, could you just repeat the author?
The author
Of that book?
Yeah, so it's Father Gregory Boyle, and it's Tattoos on the Heart. Believe what is the power of boundless compassion. The power of Tattoos on the Heart, the power of boundless compassion.
That sounds like potential for a Zoom book study to me.
We all need more compassion in our lives.
Yes, there's never can be too much. What kind of, I know you have a young child, so I'm sure you've experienced lots of entertaining TV, a certain level. But for you yourself, what are your favorite, do you have a favorite movie or a favorite TV series?
So I really liked The Mandalorian.
Okay.
On Disney Plus. That's so that's like a spin-off Star Wars. You know, like the rest of the world, I fell in love with Baby Yoda. Such a great little character who doesn't actually speak, but yet, you know, there's just that stuff that he does that draws us in, and so I like The Mandalorian. I really like The Crown. Downton Abbey, so like oh, so lovely of the Anglican priest to love sort of anyhow, I like that kind of stuff.
Well, they're very people shows.
Yeah, and I like hockey. Like I will watch, even though I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, which means I watch West Coast games on an East Coast time.
Yeah.
I'm up pretty late watching the Canucks lose. So last night the Montreal Canadiens just, I'm sure they wondered, did another team actually show up?
So, well, that I wanted to know if there's anything else that, I will ask this question because you mentioned it a little earlier. How would your wife describe you what would she say are your characteristics that she would describe you, that she would use to describe you to people?
So I asked her this question before this interview, and you know, she's like, do you want the interview version or the real version? Because that's does, but she's and then she just smiled at me, and you know, she said, you know, you're generous, you're kind, you're thoughtful, you're caring, but you're a tad bit messy and a little slow on cleaning up after our 5-year-old and after yourself. So like sometimes you know, I've taken my son off to daycare, and you know, he's had his breakfast, but his dishes are still there, and I don't right away pick them up and put them away. So I probably could just be a little more conscientious on the cleanup side. So I guess I'm messy is kind of what you would say.
Overall, that's a pretty positive review, I have to say. You know, I'm not sure everybody's review would be that positive of their partner. For sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure probably, you know, how many times I have to remind you to do something, I think maybe I don't know.
Um,
Happy wife,
So-
happy life, right?
yes, well, I guess so. So just in ending, I'm guessing you've answered this question with your other things that you've mentioned, but what would you say your priorities are for Epiphany now that you're the new sheepdog?
The new sheepdog. I just want to get to know people. I want to know who are they, and who is God for them, and why do you go to Epiphany? Like, they could go anywhere else, but they choose to be at Epiphany. So like, those are my priorities: just connecting with people and getting to know them, and actually letting them know that I care, that I'm here for them. I want to support them. I'm going to cheer for them. I think of myself as the chief encouragement officer.
That's a good term.
And I'm just going to, if people are passionate about things, I'm going to encourage them to follow their passions. I want them to be successful, and then I'm going to help them be successful. That's how I view it. That's what I think I should be doing. But there's lots of things that priests need to be able to do.
But you have to be comfortable with the people and they with you before things start to happen. So I think that certainly makes a lot of sense to me. I wanted to say thank you, Arran. I appreciate you are very busy this week trying to figure out, probably trying to stop from going underwater. But I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And I can't wait to really get involved with services with you. And I'm really looking forward to this Sunday hearing you preach.
Thanks,
I
Gillian.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Gillian. You're so kind. And it's been a pleasure so far. 4 days in, so far so good.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're not putting in for a transfer yet anyway.
It's a little early. But it's been such a great welcome, walking in the first day and seeing an office full of sheep and a tower of treats. Just fantastic. Like, I brought one of the sheep home and I gave it to my son. I said, here, look, one of the church ladies made you a sheep, and they welcome you too. And he was like, oh wow, and he has, now it's up on like the cereal nook, so every morning he's having breakfast with his sheep. So I think that's just that's a phenomenal gift that Epiphany has, that the ability to welcome. They welcome me, and I understand that they have a reason why they would want to welcome me. I'm the new pastor, priest, sheepdog. But it's a tremendous gift that you gave me. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for all the
We look forward to meeting your wife and Grayson as well.
Yeah.
It would be lovely. And sometime it'll happen.
Sometime.
Yeah. Take care, Arran. I look forward to Sunday.
Thanks, Gillian. Take care. God bless.
Bye.